Hi everyone, welcome to Luis Cisneros YouTube channel, and today's Polymer Clay tutorial is about how to make your name in Polymer Clay. I created this as a gift. It was for my niece. She just turned 1 year old and I wanted to create something different and something special for her. The cool about this piece is that you can personalize it. It means like you can use different kind of font, and also the background you can create something totally different or even simpler. I will show you just at the end of the video different things that I have done. This is the material that we're gonna need to create our name in Polymer Clay. We're gonna need our base that is a canvas. It's just a plain white canvas. It's 6 by 6 and we're gonna use it for our base. We're gonna need a printout or a draw of our name in the font that you want. We're gonna need 2mm wire for our armature. We're gonna need packages of polymer clay, especially in the colors that you want the piece to be. We need a pasta machine, and this is not necessary, but it saves a lot of time. We need a card holder or a flat surface. Baking paper. We need sculpting tools, but also a knife and a brush. We need pliers, we need scissors, we need paint for our background, our canvas. We need wipes, we need a hammer. And we're gonna need a nail that is going to be as thick as the wire for our armature, and this is to put it on our canvas. Make sure that your name is the same size as our canvas with the font that you choose, and it will have 3 layers. As you can see, there's one black in the inside, then the white one, and then another black one. And this is because our name is gonna have 3 layers. Then we're gonna start cutting the edge all the way around. To use inside of the font, what I use is the knife to carefully remove the white space, and I also use as support the back of the canvas. With the wire, we're gonna start creating the armature. I leave 4 inches long to start with, and then I start bending, creating the shape of our font. Follow the shape of our font and I start bending to create the first letter. I bend the wire following our printout. Have the outline of my letter, then I bend again the wire following the inside part of the outline. This helps me keeping in contact with the other letters. Just don't worry if it is not perfectly centered and it follows just the first layer of our font. Just make sure that it falls inside our draw or our printout. As you can see, I use my fingers just to bend the wire, but if I have any difficulty with it, I can use the wires just to help me bend the wire. I keep following the printout just to know how much wire I'm gonna need. To me, it was really easy just to follow first the name, not really perfectly, just to bend enough so I know how much wire I'm gonna need, and then later just to adjust the folds. And right at the end, I leave the 4 inches again, that this is gonna help me just to know how much I have to create the 3D effect that I want to. I flip facing down the printouts, and that way I can compare the armature towards the printout, and it should look like this. As you can see, I compacted the wire even more, so that way it fitted perfectly inside our printout. We're going to start conditioning our clay, and this is just to put it into the pasta machine. But if you don't have a pasta machine, you can create the flat layer that we're going to use for our base. I recommend a dark color since this is going to be the first layer for our knee. Then we put it through the pasta machine. I grab the clay with a baking paper, and then I using the card holder, I start removing the marks from the pasta machine. By going on circles and also left and right, I start rubbing the card holder against the clay, so that way I remove the marks made by the pasta machine, but also I get rid of those bubbles and try to make it even, attaching it to the baking paper. You will know when it's ready when you don't see any marks left. You will see the entire piece of clay attached to the paper. And we're gonna use 2 pieces like these for our first layer. We're gonna use your last favorite piece of clay, that one that it has a little bit of bubbles and it has some wrinkles, to use it for the back of our first layer. And we're gonna flip facing down the printout and put it on the clay. You really carefully place it and just make sure that it fits perfectly. And then you press down a little bit just to make it get attached into the clay and start cutting. Guiding with your printout, just be really careful when you're cutting to not go inside of the printout, and be really careful. The technique is really simple, and you just follow the edge of your printout and you just make one movement. You have to continue, and you can drag it onto the edge of the clay. Then I just go by pieces. I don't cut the entire edge in one movement. I just get into small places, cut it, and then remove the rest of the clay. Don't forget the inside part. Now we're gonna cut our front layer, and we use our printout facing up. We remove the printout, and then we're gonna flatten again with our card holder, and this is just to remove any imperfection or any marks that we did with our printout. Now we're gonna turn it around facing down, and we're gonna peel our baking paper at the back. In this case it will be our front, and then we're gonna place facing down our armature. After you're 100% sure that it fits perfectly and is centered, then you press down without affecting the shape of the clay. We use our back layer, and then we put it at the back of our front. This is gonna be a little bit tricky since it has to match the layer that we put under, the first layer, and it has to match perfectly. Using the knife, we make a cut so our wire can fit in that space. Using your fingers, you start pressing down without affecting the shape, just to seal the wire. We make a cut on the other side so the wire can go inside of the clay. To incorporate the 2 layers on the sides, I use my stylus, and I start integrating the 2 layers. Then I use my nail or my finger just to erase the marks that the stylus left. I also reshape the top, just making sure that I flatten the layers perfectly, and I erase the marks that I left with the stylus. After doing all these around, then we can bake. While the piece is baking, we're gonna start cutting the second layer in our printout or our drawing. Don't forget to cut the inside parts. We use a second color and we do the same process as we did for the first layer. Then we start cutting the font. Just make sure to not forget to cut the inside parts. Then we flip face down our layer and we put some of the liquid sculpey. We use a brush just to make it even in the entire layer. After our piece cooled down, then we place it with a new layer. Try to center it facing down. Then we flip carefully and we peel our baking paper. Then we can readjust the white clay on the top of the red, trying to just center it. Then start pressing down really carefully without affecting the shape, just to secure the place where we want our layer. Using a wet wipe, start cleaning the baked place, just taking out the liquid sculpey. Facing down, you can bake. Now we start cutting the last layer of our printout or drawing. Then we move to our third layer and last layer of clay. We do exactly the same as we did before. We flatten our clay and then place the printout. We start cutting our pieces. Then I start cutting the other letters just really carefully, piece by piece, and remove the leftover clay out of the way. I place first the single piece of the I dot. Don't forget to put some liquid sculpey by flipping facing down the letters and then brushing the liquid sculpey. Here comes the tricky part, since this font is really thin and it's going to be really hard to put it on. So just really carefully, by getting closer, just grab one tip and start placing it right in the middle. Be really careful with this layer because it's really thin, and if you don't grab it properly, it can break, and that is actually what happened to me. Don't worry, if it happens to you, it is not a big deal. It can be fixed really easy. Then we grab the rest of the letters and we put it on the place, trying to be really careful and to be centered. To fix the broken part, what we do is use the needle tool just to try to match the two ends. Then with your finger, you start blending the gap. Use the needle tool just to blend the gap on the sides. Keep using your finger to blend on the top and to crack with the needle tool just until you get the right angle. I use the needle tool just to crack the angles and adjust the letters and secure the base of the third color against the white clay. When you're happy with the position of the letters, you can bake. After you finish painting the canvas, we're going to use the name, make sure that it cools down, and we're going to mark the canvas where we're going to place it. We're going to press down and it's going to leave the mark that then later with a pencil we're going to mark. Using the nail, you're going to poke the canvas on the marks. Then you hammer the nail and remove it to create a hole. Do it on the other side. Then after removing the nails, you're going to insert the name. Just press down really carefully and even. Try to press down exactly at the spot on the top of where the wire is exposed. And that's all. Here's another example of other works that I have done with the same technique. As you can see, the background is a little bit more simple, but I use the acrylic technique using tape. I recommend using short names since the armature can handle long names, but instead you can use nicknames. You can use different angles and different words and play around. I hope you have fun with this. What do you think about this technique? Have you done something similar before? Let me know. Thank you so much for watching this video tutorial. I hope you like it, and don't forget to subscribe if you want to watch more videos like this.